readings based upon your specific gravity. In other words, I can have a 1+ protein, which is usually normal, but if my specific gravity is isosaphenuric, what does that tell me about my actual protein concentration? It's higher. So you've got to look at those together when you're doing this. Okay, so how many of us probably have more proteinuria? Yeah. But we'll put up with it, right? Now, also, if we have hemorrhage into the urinary tract or this type of thing, that will give you a positive protein reading, as well as a positive blood reading. Okay? And so, basically a pre-renal proteinuria, this is where you have basically glomerular overload. This occurs in neonatal animals less than 40 hours old because they've been proteinuria coming out over there. What are Bence-Jones proteins? There are the short chain or light chain immunoglobulins, and since they are that, they can pass through the glomerulus. Now the problem is you can't detect them too well with the dipstick, but they will show a little bit of positive reading. You have to do more definitive things for doing that. And again, as we say, hemoglobin, myoglobin will cause a positive protein reading. Okay, so the various things which can give you different types of protein. Now, renal proteinuria, that's classified as where you're basically having a glomerular proteinuria, and very basically it changes the charge on the glomerulus. The glomerulus does not come, it's become more leaky, so the proteins can come through. Also, tubular proteinuria, what's supposed to happen to those proteins that do get through the glomerulus? Tubules are supposed to reabsorb them. So if the tubules are not reabsorbing, you're going to have a small amount of protein. Usually it's amino aciduria going to come through on those. And post-renal, basically, if where am I taking my urine sample from? The kidney or from the bladder? So if I have a cystitis, will that give me a positive protein reading probably? Is anything wrong with my kidney? No, so you got to evaluate other things going on when you're causing this, okay? And basically, you can, this semi-quantitative method is what we use with this, but there's also the sulfosalicylic acid test. Y'all heard of that? SSA test? The sulfosalicylic acid test, basically, since this thing only picks up albumin, basically, sulfosalicylic acid can quantitate globulins and other proteins that might be coming out, okay? And basically what it is you you measure your protein and then you put it in sulfosalicylic acid, which is basically going to break down some of my proteins. In other words, sulfosalicylic acid, you put your protein in that bottle, has that in there, it turns cloudy. If I heat it, it gets rid of my, some of my proteins down there. So if it turns clear, it tells you that those proteins were due to something other than albumin in there. And so it tells you it's confirmative for Bence-Jones proteinuria and stuff like that. Again, y'all read through this or in your own lecture notes also. Just read through this stuff so that you can be familiar with it. But basically, what gets excreted at a relatively constant rate to the glomerulus? Creatinine. Mm-hmm. And so we can do a measurement of a ratio of urine protein to urine creatinine. And the ratio is basically less than 0.6. If we have more than 1, that means we have way too much protein for the amount of creatinine that's in there. So what does that tell you about the glomerulus' ability to keep protein in the blood? Okay. It's not there. And so those ratios are what we use that for. Okay, here is the multi-stick. This is what one of them looks like right there. Again, it's extremely sensitive to albumin. It's less sensitive to globulin, and it will not pick up Bence-Jones proteins. That's why we use the sulfosalicylic acid. If we heat it, after we put in sulfosalicylic acid and the cloudiness goes away, it's Bence-Jones proteins. Okay, that's what we're looking at. Okay, and normal urine shouldn't have very much in there. It should only have a trace to sometimes maybe 1+, but usually the 1+ is very rare to see also. Okay, you can get false positive results depending upon the pH of the urine. More alkaline urine, particularly in the bovine, can cause erroneously high protein reading. So what you can do is put a drop of 40% hydrochloric acid and then measure it. And if it goes away, that means it was because of the alkalinity going on there, interfere. You can also get false negative results, as we say, bench-Jones proteins and things don't detect on these things. And they're not real sensitive for globulins, okay? And if you don't have proteinuria, you don't exclude renal disease because sometimes the glomerulus can be damaged, or you can have problems with the tubules and you're not going to see a change in the protein. Proteinuria usually indicates a glomerular membrane problem. And this is a sulfosalicylic acid test right here. And basically, these are the standards you can use to determine your results from. And so basically, normal would be that real white on the end. And if you do the sulfosalic acid and that goes away, then that tells you you had bench-Jones proteins in there. Okay. Okay. Glucose. Is it normal to have glucose in urine?
No. No.
No. If you do, what does it tell you?
I can't reabsorb.
Where's your problem?
Tubes.
In proximal tubules. Because how much glucose comes to the glomerulus? 100% glucose comes to the glomerulus. How much is reabsorbed by the proximal tubules?
100%.
100% up to renal threshold. So if I'm exceeding renal threshold, where's that glucose going to go? And what condition would give you where would you exceed the renal threshold in?
Diabetes.
Well, it could be anything which gives you hyperglycemia, right?
Yes.
Severe hyperglycemia. Now, what if I have an animal that has hypoglycemia and glycosuria? What does that tell me?
Kidneys.
What does that tell you about proximal tubular function?
It's not working.
It ain't working. There's any way you can exceed renal threshold if you have hypoglycemia? The fact that the tubules can't reabsorb is what's giving you the hypoglycemia. So that's basically what we're looking at there. And the renal threshold will vary with species. The feline has the highest, but they unfortunately will also spike the highest glucose with diabetes and with stress and stuff. Okay, and some of them overlap as far as that is concerned. But hyperglycemia magnitude again greater than the renal threshold is going to give you the glycosuria. And that means you either exceed it or your proximal tubules cannot absorb it. Okay. This is just showing you the dipstick for the urine glucose in here. You can get some false positive reactions. Again, remember that preservative to keep down the bacteria, formaldehyde and stuff like that? Well, that can give you false positives as far as your glucose reactions are concerned. Also, what's ascorbic acid? Vitamin C, that's an essential vitamin, right? The more you give, the better off you are, right? It can cause very severe problems. The more you give, the more renal damage you can get. But it can also, even in normal dosages, it's going to be excreted through the urine, and it can cause it basically inhibits the reaction, so you can mask a glucose reaction, a urine glucose reaction with it. So things can do that. Also, certain drugs can give you false negative. In other words, you've got diabetes mellitus or something, but you also got them on these different compounds, so you can't see it as far as your analysis is concerned. Okay, again, need to go through these. We just talked about this. I'm not going to read this stuff to you. You can read as well as I can, but you need to read it. Do I need to say that again?
No.
I'll do it anyway. You need to read it. Okay. And ketones. What are ketones? Where do they come from? Come from degradation of fat. And basically, they're markedly elevated under conditions in which oxidation of fats is providing the main energy source as far as the animal is concerned. Can that occur in diabetes mellitus? Can it occur in hypercortisonism? Right, so various things will do that. Also, it can occur in lots of times in bovine, in that they basically are not getting adequate feed and stuff, and they're not breaking down adequate things in the rumen. What's the bovine used to make glucose? Anybody? Propionic acid. Remember, you ferment break down, they don't absorb very much glucose. They absorb propionic acid and the liver converts it into glucose. But if you're not getting very good digestion right there, what's the animal going to start breaking down for energy? Ketones and this type of thing. And so that's why the bovines and ruminants and things are more susceptible to ketoacidosis than other species are. Okay. Here's some causes of ketonemia and ketonuria right here. And see the high-fat diet? All those desserts, and, all that good stuff, Why is it that foods that you really love are not good for you? Why explain that to me? This is not fair, is it?
It's one of life's tests.
Huh? But there's various things, and again, you need to just be familiar with some of these causes. This is a stick as far as measuring the urine ketones, and sometimes the these values, it's kind of hard. If you look at some of those colors, it'd be a little hard to assess which one you got there sometimes. And so those you need to use a little more definitive tests. And so there are various benchtop tests you can use to confirm the problem. Okay, urine bilirubin and urobilinogen. Where's urobilinogen come from? Where's urobilinogen come from? No, it does not come from the liver. What kind of bilirubin? Where is it getting formed? Where's conjugated bilirubin go from the liver? Down into the gut. What's in the gut waiting for it? The bacteria. What are the bacteria going to break down the conjugated bilirubin, change the conjugated bilirubin into? Urobilinogen. What's going to happen to most of that urobilinogen? It's converted into urobilin, which is converted into stercobilin, which is then excreted in the feces. What happens to some of the urobilinogen? It's reabsorbed. Some will go back out through the liver, but some will go out in the urine, particularly in dogs because they have a low renal threshold for it. So if I have a dog that's got a lot of bilirubin and urobilinogen in its feces and its urine, what does that tell me is going on? Does it have cholestasis? Because urobilinogen has cholestasis when we get down to the gut. What if it has excessive amounts of red cell breakdown? That can do it. Also, if it has functional lymphatic problems where it can't excrete it properly and everything, you can see some problems with conjugated, but you're not going to see the problems with urobilinogen. Okay? All right. This is just showing the multi-stick. There's a big gap in there. And that's because there's a lot of variation from the negative to that small amount that occurs that it's a waste of time to put it on there. Okay. Now, as far as the what gives you positive reactions, I said we're going to go over this more in the ClinPath lecture stuff. This is just a listing of what can give you positive reactions. And basically it has to do with hepatobiliary disease or intravascular hemolysis and this type of thing. And basically also acute enteritis. If you have acute enteritis, why would that increase your urine bilirubin? Is that going to cause some of that to be reabsorbed and stuff? Yeah, so problems we'll see with that. Now, what are we supposed to do with our specimen if we're not going to run it right away? Where should we put it? In the dark space, particularly in the refrigerator. So, because what does light do to bilirubin? Breaks it down, makes it go away. Okay, and so it gives you negative readings, even though it may be very high, and that type of thing. There's also another test called the ICO test, which is made for doing this. It's the same chemical reaction as the pad, but it's a tablet format, and that it's better because since it doesn't use the full urine thing, it doesn't interfere with the color because you don't have the color of the urine itself interfering with it when we do this. So it's more sensitive actually than the dipsticks. Blood, hemoglobin, myoglobin. Why are they all together?
Because they all make the same
Because the pad picks up all three of them. How would you rule out hemoglobin? What do you look at? How about the color of your plasma? If it's clear, what's not in the plasma?
Hemoglobin.
So it's not got hemoglobinemia. If you don't have hemoglobinemia, you're going to get hemoglobinuria? No. Also, the animals have to be significantly anemic to have that much hemoglobinuria. How would you rule out myoglobinuria? Color the plasma? No, myoglobin does not color the plasma. But where is myoglobin coming from? Muscle. So what do you look at in your serum chemistry?
UHCK.
Not creatinine, creatine kinase, okay, and AST. Okay. So how do you confirm it's blood?
If those other two.
I got to look at it in the sediment. If it's blood, what are you going to have in the sediment? Red blood cells. Red blood cells normally less than 10. If you've got too numerous to count, what does it tell you got? 30. Okay. Now you got to be careful. What have we got about catheterization? Could that give us an artifactually positive reading? If we're a little rough with our catheter? Yes, that's why we got to be careful about that. Okay, there's a hematuria because when they spun it down, you can see the sediment at the bottom's got red in it, right? That tells you those are red cells. Why is the supernatant reddish? You're in a nice environment for red cells, or you lyse a lot of them. You lyse a lot of them, so you get that. And this is just showing you the dipstick here that we look at for that. Okay. Again, some things can interfere if you have severe proteinuria, high specific gravity, and too much vitamin C in there. It can give you false negatives because it can mask the color development. Okay, so that's the dipstick. All right, so a lot of y'all done dipstick, right? Did you know what you were reading when you were doing it?
No.
All the time? Okay, now, I'm not going to go over the second PowerPoint today, but in there, that one on the sediment. What do you look at for sediment? What are you looking for in sediment?
Crystals.
You're looking for cells. What kind of cells? It could be red cells, white cells, epithelial cells. Looking for infectious organisms, bacteria, could be some fungal agents. What else? Casts. What are casts?
Protein.
How come you got quiet?
Tubular cells.
Yeah, why call them casts?
They look like cast of the
Oh,
gland.
they're not. It's also called cylindria. Why cylindria? It's a cylindrical shape and they're in urine, cylindria. How many of you ever cast bronze things and stuff like that? I've seen it, okay? So you have this cast, which would be the same as the tubule. And so it's forming inside the lumen of that tubule. Now, are there different kinds of casts? What would be an epithelial cast? Something of the epithelium. So as it tells you it's pretty severe, if by the time you see it down in the urine, there's still epithelial, it tells you it's very dangerous. What's a granular cast? That's a degraded epithelial cast. So if you see those, it means you've had damage, but maybe further up. So by the time they get down, it's degraded. That means they better. But epithelial is a very severe problem. What about a hyaline cast? What's hyaline mean? Hyaline usually means without shape or without color, without substance. What's a hyaline cast? Now, some protein comes through the glomerulus normally, small amount. Some glucoid compounds, a small amount. So this is a glycoprotein matrix. It's a normal cast. Okay. When would you want to see increased hyaline cast? When would you want to see increased hyaline cast? What about if you had renal shutdown? What are you going to try to get that kidney open? Fluids, right? And so you start to see in your urine a bunch of hyaline casts. They had collected in those tubules when the animal went urinating. So that's a good time to see a lot of hyaline casts. When can you see them increase normally? What happens to renal perfusion with exercise?
It decreases.
Drops down. So you're going to collect the hyaline cast. So you're going to drink a lot of fluids. You should see more hyaline casts there. Okay. What might be, what else? So what about the waxy cast? What are waxy casts? Why do they call them waxing?
They look like.
When you all were in grade school, did you all do a project where you melted crayons on papers and made pictures? Y'all weren't given a lot of opportunity. I grew up in West Virginia, and our schools in West Virginia had terrible reputation, but we did a heck of a lot more of those things. Okay? When you melt wax, it's going to form a kind of a rectangular thing, it's going to have cracks in it. That's what the waxy cast looks like. They say positive with Congo red, so what are they? Got about amyloid.
Yeah.
Amyloid is one indication of degrading proteins in it. So you can see it with glomerular, lipid glomerular disease, supplements, glomerular nephritis, this type of thing. And so those are waxy casts. Now, if you have the tubular casts that are hanging around long enough to get to a certain point of degradation. Okay. So, in other words, what about crystals? Can they be unimportant? They can be unimportant, but they can also be important, can't they? What about the money value rate crystals? Money value rate crystals. What does it tell you is too high in the blood? It's probably what you got. Okay. So in other words, there's some casts that aren't as significant as others, some crystals that are. Those things are and what they indicate. Okay. And what about struvite crystals? What are they made up of? Ammonium phosphate. So basically, and the bacteria will have urease in them, which breaks the urea back into ammonia, and ammonia reacts with the magnesium and the phosphates that are normally in, and gives you these struvite crystals. More common in cats. And struvite, any of these crystals can form what? What can these crystals form when they accumulate? Stones. And what can stones do? Block. And what can blockage do? Kill. Okay, but that second PowerPoint goes through those various things and stuff like that you need to be familiar with. So are y'all divided into your group sections?
Not yet.
All right, so what you need to do, there's 5 different urine samples up here. You need to send someone up here. Take one of those cups right there. And the samples are like, looking in here, we've got sample, no, 1 through 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That way, okay? So you need to get one of each of those. Go with your group. You need to get your gloves. You need to get a spectrometer. And you need to get you some tips. Okay, and what you're going to do is your group needs to get 5 of these sheets up here. Now, if you want to do more than 1 urine, you can get extra sheets for yourself. Get 5 of those sheets up here. These are the result report forms. Put the number on it. Okay, you don't need to do anything else. Put the number. And then get the results on those forms. Okay. And you're going to look at the color. You're going to look at the clarity. All right. You're going to do the dipstick. Now, I'd like to do the sediment, but unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have time to do that. But you're going to have to tell me, well, I've modified these yours a little bit. You're going to have to tell me, well, what changes in your results you're getting, and tell me what could be caused. So if we had time, we would like to do the sediment on a couple of them, but I don't think we're going to have time today. All right, but what you need to do is send your representative up here.